Alright, this is going to help you work on the homework homework number 7, problem number 2, with the difference in the interest rates between two countries. And so let's start off with a simple example. Let's say that the current spot exchange rate between the Mexican peso and the US dollar is 10 pesos per dollar, or we can invert that and say 10 cents per peso. So we'll also suppose that the interest rate in the US is 5%, while in Mexico it's 10%, holding everything else constant. So the risk is the same between the two countries. And we can now look at two different options for investing, say $1,000. The first option is I would take $1,000, I would deposit it into a U.S. bank, and after 1 year I would withdraw $1,050, which is 5% return on my investment or on my deposit. Alternatively, I could take my $1,000 and I could buy 10,000 pesos. I could deposit those 10,000 pesos into a Mexican bank account, and after 1 year withdraw 11,000 pesos, which would be a 10% return on my deposit. And assuming that the same exchange rate of 10 pesos per dollar or 10 cents per peso is still in existence, I take that 11,000 pesos and I convert it back to $1,100. Now obviously I'd rather have $1,100 than $1,050, so everybody would be jumping on that Mexican deposit. They would convert their money to pesos and deposit them into a Mexican bank and get $1,100 at the end of a year. So that's the best option. And obviously that can't happen. In the long run, that wouldn't happen. Arbitrage opportunities in the foreign exchange market are taken over immediately. They're capitalized on immediately. And so it wouldn't even happen. So what does happen? Well, the difference between these interest rates is an arbitrage opportunity. And this is what happens. And the only way this can persist is if there is some expectation that the forward rate or the futures rate of, say, in this case here, the Mexican peso is going to depreciate by 5 percentage points, which is the difference between the interest rate and the interest rate domestically and the interest rate in Mexico, or roughly 5%. So let's take this, and we'll take a look at an example of this. We take $1,000, we buy 10,000 pesos, we deposit those 10,000 pesos into a Mexican bank, and after 1 year we withdraw 11,000 pesos. Now, again, in order for these to equilibrate and there not be arbitrage opportunities, after 1 year, my 11,000 pesos has to convert back to dollars in the same amount that it would have happened had I deposited that $1,000 in the U.S. bank, or in this case here, $1,050. So I can simply say $11,000 times dollars per peso is equal to 1,050. And so what this is saying is my 11,000 pesos that I get after 1 year, the exchange rate of dollars for pesos have to change sufficiently so that I end up with 1,050. And if you look at calculate this equation, we would find out that the dollar exchange rate is going to be $0.955 per peso, or roughly, instead of 10 cents per peso, 9.5 cents per peso, which is roughly a 5% depreciation of the Mexican peso. So any difference in interest rates between two countries, again, holding everything else constant, risk is the factor we're really holding different here, then any difference in interest rates between two countries must equal the difference between the spot price and the future price of those two currencies. So in this case here, the equation we would use is the domestic interest rate minus the foreign interest rate, in the case we had 5 minus 10, has to equal the future rate of the dollar peso minus the spot rate of the dollar peso divided by the spot rate. And that would give us 0.0955, or roughly a 5% depreciation of the peso against the US dollar. I hope that helps. Let me know if you need any more help with this.